Hey everybody, it's Tom here with Hidden Beats again, and today we have Brandi from Nice Horse. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Pretty good. What's your day looking like today over there?
Well, actually, today we're Nice Horse is doing some rehearsals. We're
Oh,
rehearsing for the summer, which is really exciting because the last couple years we've been rehearsing just to rehearse.
yeah.
So it's nice to
So,
have a purpose again.
so for those who don't know you and your music, can you give a little kind of intro about Nice Horse?
Yeah, so Nice Horses Band were four women that came together about 7 years ago. Krista and Katie and I have been friends for a really long time. Krista and I were in bands together before. Katie and I met, in the music scene and became fast friends. And then Tara joined us later on, and we've just been it's just a bunch of friends making great music together.
And we were actually lucky enough to get to have a written interview with you guys, I think a year ago, roughly,
Yeah,
something like that. So it's good to actually get to catch up and kind of meet in person this time.
totally.
So what was music like for you growing up? I guess we'll focus more questions based on just you since you're here.
Yeah. I mean, I always wanted to be a musician. Like I don't really remember a time when I didn't. I started vocal lessons and piano lessons super early. And I'd started in piano, but my piano teacher told my mom to put me in vocal lessons too because I would just sing along to absolutely everything I played on the piano. So I started really early and kind of moved into classical voice. I really was just like kind of fascinated by that. I was a country girl growing up. Like I grew up in Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, and then Rocky Mountain House, Alberta, and I I just listened to country music all the time. But I thought this was something cool and different to try, and so that's what my master's degree is actually in opera, in classical voice,
Okay.
um, which is, I wanted to learn everything about music that I could, and I felt like that was a really good way of doing it, was exploring different types of music.
No, for sure. And you definitely get a good base with classical stuff.
Totally, yeah. And I'm not the only member in Nice Horse that has a classical music degree. Krista, our drummer, also has her master's in classical bassoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so what were the musical inspirations for you when you were coming up? Like, was there specific artists you looked at?
Well, I mean, I really go back to what I loved to listen to as a kid, because that was, those are the things that really were formative for me and really stuck with me. I listened to so much 90s country music. Like, that's all I listened to growing up. I was a really big fan of like Reba McEntire. I listened to those records. Well, they were records and tapes. Like I listened to my
Mm,
parents' cassette tapes of Reba McEntire and Garth Brooks. I listened to all of that stuff. And I think that listening to those acts in particular really made me not just love the songs, because I mean Reba's like like she's got such great story songs, but also about the performance side of music because both of them are such amazing performers. And I think we really bring a lot of that in to Nice Horse, is that live performance aspect.
mm. Hopefully you can't hear that. It seems like someone's doing some like cutting down a tree just outside my
Oh
window
no,
here.
I can't hear it actually, so
Okay, that's
that's fine.
perfect because it's pretty loud on my end. Yeah, so that distracted me for a sec. So what is your music process when you're coming up with putting together songs, albums, things like that?
Yeah, so I mean, do you mean like really from start to finish, like songwriting to
Yeah, like
recording?
how do you guys have a specific way you guys like to write and everything like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if we necessarily have a specific way we like to write, but the great thing about this band is that everybody does love to write. Everyone's really invested in the writing side of things, which I love because it really makes it easy for us to have the perspective of all four band members. If everybody is involved in writing the songs, but we don't always write together. Often we'll go and write with other writers and do a lot of co-writes outside of the band. So sometimes there'll be two horses in a write, and then one outside writer, which is really great for a couple of reasons because we kind of feel like we get this um, divide and conquer thing happening where we can all be writing, and we can be writing a lot of songs so that we really get to pick what we truly love the most to make the record. But I also love it because I really love learning about songwriting. I'm kind of obsessed with the craft of songwriting. Like, it's one of my favorite parts of the process,
Mhm.
and the opportunity to get to write with a lot of other writers and learn from their style, and then also really learn what your own style is. Like, it's so much easier, I think, to see what your style of writing is when it's like right beside alongside another songwriter. So that's what I really love about the songwriting side. Even though we don't always write together as a band, or we haven't usually, we started to a lot more in the pandemic because we actually weren't all together. I spent a lot of time in Edmonton during the pandemic. Tara, our guitar player, was living in Ontario at the beginning of the pandemic. Katie lives in Vancouver, and Krista lives in Calgary. So we were all in different cities. So we spend a lot of time on Zoom, um, connecting and songwriting. So, um, which was really nice because we don't always write just as the four of us. So it was
Mhm.
kind of nice to get back to just being us, you know?
Yeah, that actually
But
kind of
we,
transitioned to my next part was
oh yeah.
working. How did you work in COVID really? But
Yeah, well, yeah, and obviously, like, it presented a huge challenge for us. Like, we being separated, and Tara did actually move to Calgary partway through the pandemic, but we were very used to never being in the same place and still finding ways to work together. We've always been really active on social media and coming up with unique, fun ways to engage with our audience while we were not together. So it felt like we had already put ourselves through a little mini training of how to survive being apart just by the sheer geography of this band. So when the pandemic hit, I mean, obviously it was so devastating because the connection time we did get together was when we toured.
Mhm.
And with that gone away, we had to find new ways to connect as a band, but we found unique ways. Like, we started doing a series on Facebook called Wine at Nine, where we would get up in the morning and have a glass of wine together and just chat on Facebook Live,
Mhm.
so we could be engaging with our fans and engaging with each other. And we really liked it, and our audience really liked it. And so we ended up making it, kind of morphing it into this podcast called The Road Case. And so we also did that during the pandemic. Um, and Tara, our guitar player, produced and edited it. And we had this, it was like not only a way for us to have, have this connection with our fans, but also have this connection with each other. And we also we were releasing music at that time too. We had just finished recording right before the pandemic and had this music to release. And so with one of our songs that we released during the pandemic, High School, we wanted to do a music video for it, but um, we didn't know what to do. We had released another song in the pandemic, and we had done it was our song Cowgirl, and it had like this cartoon, graphic novel esque style of music video, but we couldn't do that twice. Like, we did
Mhm.
that already
Yeah.
once in the pandemic. So what we did was we all like bought green screens and cap and gowns, like graduation cap and gowns on Amazon, and we we set everything up in our own homes. We green screened our parts of the video, and Krista and I edited and directed it and put it together. So, which we had never done before. So
Mhm.
it was really it was really kind of great way for us to still do something and still create, but also really learn some new skills that we never thought we would have. And that we ended up getting nominated for Video Director of the Year at the Canadian Country Music Awards last year for that video. So, and it ended up winning a Country Music Alberta award. and it's nominated as well for a Western Canadian Music Award this year. So it's so crazy to think that, like, you feel like you're hopeless. I know a lot of artists felt like that, and a lot of people felt like that during the pandemic. um, it's nice to know that, like, there are these little silver linings if you look for them. Like,
Mhm, for sure.
we didn't think we were gonna I didn't think I was ever going to be a video director. But there I was, and I loved it, and I was so proud of all of us for doing that together.
And it's definitely something, it evolves you more as a creator and as an artist that way, learning different things.
Oh my gosh, so much. And it also makes you have a really true respect for the other creators and artists in your realm, because
Hmm.
we work with video directors all the time, and editors, and you just have this newfound respect for them when you really learn what's involved um, in their craft and what they do. And I think that's really special, because it's nice that we can all, you know, support each other and really truly understand what everybody is doing.
For sure. And so like I'm a creator on that opposite end, and it's nice to hear things like that because I always envy what it's like for you as a musician, because I just don't have that mindset, I guess, of, well, I can't sit down and write something. It drives me nuts to try to do something like that. So I envy what you have in that sense of being able to sit and do that.
Oh, thanks. Well, I mean, it is true. It's like I mean, it's why we've all entered our lane of artistry, but it's really nice to see great things that other people are doing as well, and actually understand them on a new level.
For sure. Now, how would you plan on balancing stuff with all your social media activities with the world opening up and being able to do more
Yeah.
live shows?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some things, like we've put the Roadcase, our podcast, on a little bit of a pause while we kind of started the engine again,
Hmm.
to get out there on tour. But that will come back, um, and I mean, we always really struck a. I feel like we were able to strike a balance between maintaining our social media and being super active and engaged on it while touring. And sometimes it makes it easier too, because we are together, and it's not, and instead of, like, being like, okay, everybody, let's meet at 9, make sure you got your wine from the liquor store so that we can do this thing. Like, there's there's not as much planning when we're just together and we just get to do things and film them and be together just for the love of being together. It seems a little easier at times when we're together to do those social media pieces for everybody.
Yeah, because you also have kind of content there for you. You don't have to plan it. It's just whatever you're doing at that moment.
Yeah, and we also have a chemistry as people together. Like, that's why we are in a band. Like, is because, and sometimes you can't duplicate that chemistry when you're not together, when you're not in the room together.
Oh, for sure. And so one of the main reasons we're actually here talking is about your trip to the Cavendish Music Festival. How excited
Yes.
is that?
Oh, you know what? We were playing a show yesterday, and one of the other artists asked me what show I was most looking forward to this summer, and I instantly said Cavendish. I'm so excited for a couple of reasons. Number one, we've never played Cavendish before. This is our debut at Cavendish. So we're really excited because we've heard so many amazing things about that festival, and we're excited to be a part of it this year. And we also love Atlantic Canada. The actual funny thing about Nice Horses, we've never ever played a show in Atlantic Canada before,
Wow.
because we've gone out there to visit the radio stations, and every time we go out there, we have the absolute best time. We love being out there. So it's really exciting for us to not only debut for the first time at Cavendish, but this is our first time debuting our live show in Atlanta, Canada. So it makes it 2 times as special.
No, that's got to be awesome. And I've always found the Atlantic music scene, it's a bit more different than, say, like I'm based in Ottawa. So music scene here doesn't compare in a sense to almost like the down home feeling you have there.
Yeah, totally. Well, every time we've ever been there just for, travel or for going to see radio stations, we end up like playing music in someone's house. It's
Hmm.
so fun, and I love that vibe. Like, it really does create this, like, lighthearted feeling of togetherness with music. And so it is a great vibe and a great scene out there.
Yeah, for sure. Are you guys bringing new music to play for everyone?
Yes, we are. And we're
Nice.
so excited. And this is a big reason why we're in these rehearsals this week is we just recorded new music, like just. So we got out of the studio just like 2 weeks ago, and we're going to be playing those new songs, and some of them aren't even released yet.
Nice.
Um, but we're excited for what's coming for Nice Horse in the next year. So we can't wait to share it with everybody.
No, it's going to be fun. And we're going to release this probably on the week leading up to the festival. So they'll get a little bit of a excitement boost for that for sure.
Amazing.
My dog just decided to walk and stand here
Oh.
and look at me funny.
I'm actually, this is such a musician thing to do. I'm dog sitting right now.
Okay.
So I'm not even in my own house. I'm dog sitting. And so I've got two dogs wandering around here right now too. And
Mhm.
you never know when they might make their appearance.
Well, this guy here, he always sleeps in the office with me, and sometimes he
Oh,
gets bored and he'll kind of push me away from my desk and just want to be in my face. So he's
I
always
love he's a
interesting.
studio dog.
He is, yeah. He would just lay there and love it the whole time. And he's deaf, so he wouldn't even be bothered by any sort of sounds going on either.
Yeah, I love it.
Hmm. Just goofy dog. So one of the questions I like to ask everyone is, well, now with the way things have evolved with COVID, what's your opinion on the music scene right now?
I mean, I'm not really sure what my opinion is of it, but my observation is that it feels kind of insane out there. Like I feel like we're at the New York Stock Exchange and everybody is like running around doing this and the bell is ringing and people are buying. Like it feels exciting. Like everyone's busy. There's like live music is back. People are playing
Hmm.
shows. Like it feels like it's back with a fury. So it's exciting. I think it's almost a little overwhelming and not in a bad way, but it feels like night and day for us.
Mm.
And I also think that people like the pandemic has kind of, I don't say forced, but like facilitated people making um really taking a look at their lives and deciding what they want to do and reevaluating things. And I see that in our artists and our musicians. I think people have made choices, whether it's like what they want to do with their career or how much they want to tour or how little they want to tour. How, like, lots of artists, great musicians moved to production, the production side of things, or, they started songwriting and they just want to songwrite, kind of not left music, but changed their lane. And I think with everybody kind of, there's this lane switching for a lot of people, feels like there's a lot of shuffle in the music industry. So but I think that's exciting because I think change is good, and I think people are I think we're getting happy, uh, grateful, and humble musicians coming back because of it. Because we're no one that is here now after withstanding the last few years doesn't want to be here.
Hmm.
Everybody wants to be here. We're so excited that it's back, and I think that that's special, and you're going to see that on stages
And I
this
think
summer.
it gave people an opportunity to do new things and just there. I think there's a lot more music out there now because other people had the time to sit and do something.
Totally, it's not even just creators that changed lanes. It's new creators. Like
Hmm.
you're right. Like there's people with newfound time that, made great music over the pandemic. And so I think the face of the industry is gonna morph a little bit. And I like that. I think it's gonna freshen up what everybody's doing, and I think it's going to advance music.
Hmm. The other side to that, I think, though, is with the abundance of music being put out there, it's going to make it harder for someone to stand out.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's kind of been an issue even before the pandemic was like, with all of the digital avenues that people have to release music. you can and you
Hmm.
do. So I think that that's been something that the that the music world has been contending with for a little while now. But I think that it's I don't think it's a necessarily a bad thing, because it does just really then encourage people to try to find new ways to stand out. And
Hmm.
I think that that's cool too. I mean, it might it might mean that live shows become the kingpin of artists repertoire, because if everybody is the same and everyone is equal online, what really differentiates one artist from another, is what they're doing live
Hmm.
and
For
their
sure.
live experience. And so I think that that's kind of exciting too, because um that's the part that we want to make unforgettable, and we want to make it especially unforgettable for people now, because they haven't been to shows in so long.
Hmm. And yeah, that feeling, so typically I'm a photographer and I shoot live shows, and I started doing these interviews during COVID, kind of my transition.
Mm.
But
Your new artistic outlet.
so when I started doing shows again and actually covering them, that feeling of that live atmosphere and just the energy, it was missed, and it was completely, it was almost too much for the first one, because it was like, wow, I haven't been here in 3 years almost.
I know, I think we're all getting back into that, like how overstimulating that environment is for us right now.
Hmm.
And I also find it pretty emotional. Like I'm excited like to get out on that stage this summer and put that emotion into what we're doing, because I do feel emotional getting on stage now. Like I don't take it for granted, and I don't know that I ever really took it for granted prior to the pandemic, but I don't think there's any way I will after. You know, there's no chance. I love doing what I do. The rest of my band loves it. It's I feel like where we really thrive. And once you've had that, once you've had that taken away from you for a while, you just don't want to let it go after.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous for, well, like festival season's in full swing, and in Ottawa, our like Blues Fest starts pretty much the same time
Right.
Cavendish. So
Yeah.
we're kind of gearing up for something like 14 days of music in a row. And I'm thinking, wow, I gotta make sure I take care of myself and don't dehydrate, because it's gonna be crazy out there.
That's the other thing too, is like I think that that's also still a real concern for artists, is being healthy on the road, and um and you can be vaccinated and take care of yourself, and you could still get it. You could
Hmm.
still get COVID, and and the unfortunate thing with musicians is there's there's no sick days.
Yeah.
So we have to we also have this like added layer of the world's back, and people are going to work, and if you get COVID you can call in sick, but we still have this job where we are very susceptible to getting sick, and we don't get sick days. You just can't play. So it's a little bit it's a bit trickier for artists, and I know that we're still going to have to be really careful, like especially because I know the inclination is for all of us to, like, I don't know, we play live music because we love to see audiences, and we love to
Hmm.
meet people who love our music, and it's hard to not just want to go out there and meet everybody afterwards. But there is going to be a level of, like, if we want to play the next 3 weeks of shows, we still have to be a bit isolated, you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. It's gonna
and
make
if you want
things
to
a little bit
shoot the next,
interesting.
if you want to photograph the next 3 weeks of shows, like, you're right, we all have to be careful still.
Yeah, and like Blues Fest sells out pretty crazy, and there's thousands upon thousands of people, and it's kind of like, okay, do I hide in a corner and wait for my turn and not do anything else, or
I know it's so tough to strike the balance,
Mhm.
because there's also something really, um like, I mean, it's therapeutic and good for everyone's mental health to have those connections too. So it's just really trying to balance, physical health versus mental health in all of this.
And I know it's hit some people a bit harder. So
Mhm.
I'm going to be shooting Dallas Smith tonight, and I know there's a couple people who aren't going because they're still a little nervous about
Yeah.
things. But yeah,
Yeah, and
I
I
mean,
think that that's the truth, is like we just have to respect where everybody is at right now, and in the transition of coming back, and so that everyone can still enjoy what they're comfortable with enjoying.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions to add to make this a bit lighter now. We've talked about COVID
Yeah.
enough. And
Yeah, let's not talk about that anymore.
Mhm. So these ones I like to ask everyone. It kind of gives it more of an insight of you and who you are as a person and kind of your likes and dislikes kind of thing. First one I have is, what is something on your go-to playlist that people wouldn't expect that you listen to?
Hmm. Um, I really, really love um, the Winnipeg artist Begonia.
Okay.
I love her. She's got this great like indie rock folk thing. It's like like aesthetically, she's like, her whole brand is really beautiful. The music is interesting and cool, and I will. That is the record I will put on my on on when I'm driving and rock out to, because I love that. It's her record Fear, and I love that record.
I'll have to take a look for sure.
Totally should. She's so great, and she's killer live too.
Okay.
Hmm.
I actually have some photographers in Winnipeg, so if I ever get a chance to have them out to catch the show, I
Oh
will.
yeah, you should
Mhm.
absolutely.
Do you know what the other girls' kind of guilty pleasure songs are?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's, in terms of guilty pleasures. I mean, because I think we're all very guiltless about it. We're all very unashamed of what we listen to. But I know that Katie and Tara, when they have control over the playlist when we're touring, they'll always put like 90s hip hop on.
Okay.
So that's what their go-to. And Krista, she actually, when asked what she prefers to listen to when she's not working in music, she says nothing. She
Okay.
doesn't. She really like is a person who needs like a palate cleanser when she's not performing or practicing, and she does play with a lot of other bands too. So she'll listen to podcasts or talk radio.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me, a palate cleanser in that sense, I would think would be a genre that's completely opposite to kind of give you that. But I mean, hey,
totally. Her opposite genre is silence.
I suppose when you're involved in music that much, it makes sense too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's what it is, right? Is like, for her to stay energized on music, she needs to find some space from it, which is totally cool.
For sure. Next question I have is, this one always gets a little bit more deeper thought out of someone, and so bear with it. What's one thing that you think should be asked more in interviews that's not asked enough?
Hmm. I actually think, I mean, and we kind of touched on it a bit in this interview already, but I think like, really, I mean, as a band, we really feel and truly believe that people should be like talking and being honest about their mental health. And um I think that our artists, if they're comfortable actually really being honest and expressing where they are, like in terms of their mindset and their state of mind, and like just being open about, you know, true struggles, because a lot of the times, and especially with social media, there's not often that we post things where we're like, look, I had a bad day. Like,
Mhm.
we don't do that. We post our good days. And even if we didn't have a great day, we post something as if it was our good day. And so I think it's good for people to see that um everyone, even the artists they love, are human and are are fallible, and I think that's important, because then it helps people understand that it's okay when they don't have a good day, and it's okay to talk about it with people.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I like asking questions like that because it helps get more insight on who you are. And for myself, I know I can listen to a song, it's a great song, but when I know more about the artist and more about who they are as a person and kind of what they're their insights are. It makes me hold on to that song a little bit tighter, I guess,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
has that feeling for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, we write songs with that state of mind. So it does really help you connect the artist to the song and you to the song.
Hmm.
I do know there's an interview question that we get often, being an all-female band, that we don't like. Do
Okay.
you want to hear that one?
Yeah, for sure.
We, for some reason, and I don't know, and maybe it's because, like, maybe it's because we're an all-female band, or maybe it's not. Maybe they ask all the guy bands this too. But we always get who your high school celebrity crush was.
Really?
Always. People ask us that all the time. It's like they really want to know. And it's interesting because I I mean, that often sometimes can be more revealing than people want in
Yeah.
itself. Um, but it just feels like something where, um, it's like, oh, we're not a bunch of teeny bopper girls that we have, like, we're a band. Please
Hmm.
ask us something about music, or, and because to us, I guess it maybe doesn't feel like we are revealing, like, it can either reveal way too much about somebody that they don't want to reveal, so you're not going to get an answer,
Hmm.
or it doesn't really reveal anything about them at all.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have even have thought of asking that question
I
because that
know, and
doesn't
I
really
know you
help me.
wouldn't.
Yeah, that doesn't help me in the conversation that we're having. So
I know.
that's an interesting one for me.
Yeah.
That's that, I mean, yeah, wow.
Yeah, we've at least had that a dozen times in interviews.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look out for that in other interviews now to see what kind of I don't I do a little bit of research and I kind of put the talking points that I want to know, but I don't go
Yeah.
deep dive into other interviews as much to see what they've asked you. So I'm gonna look out for that a little bit more
Yeah,
now
look
and
for
see.
it. I want to, and tell me if you see other ones in there, cuz we get it.
100% I will. Now I'm gonna actually write a note for that just because.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So one of my last questions I have for you is kind of a two-parter. What is a piece of advice that you were given coming up in music that you've held on to tightly?
I know instantly what this is for me.
Okay.
So I have a great friend in music. He's a music manager. His name is Liam Colleen, and he manages USS, and has done so for uh, pretty much their whole career, and he's always been a real trusted ally and someone I could talk to, throughout my music career, just whenever I needed advice, or, his opinion on something. He was always there to really give me that advice. And the band I was in before Nice Horse, was my band with our Nice Horse drummer Krista, and we were in a band called Sydney York together before Nice Horse. And I remember we were independent. We didn't have an agent. We didn't have management. We didn't have a team. Um, and we had recorded this record, and I was just like so stressed about getting it out. I was like, it needs to get out immediately. We just people will like people need our to hear this, and we might not have all the pieces together, and because people were, maybe you should wait, but I just, in my head, I'm like, no, we need to get it out now. Like, there's so many reasons that you make up in your head that you need to, like, I'm running out of time. That one I hear all the time from artists, and I've felt that way before, like, I'm running out of time. And he said to me, and it was the most honest thing, and I'll never forget it, and I've always appreciated it. He said, Brandi, no one's waiting for the next Sydney York record. And he was right. Like, what? I had like I had a couple hundred fans. Like, and they weren't waking up every morning checking to see if I released music. And, like, there was more to gain from waiting than there was from just blah, like, releasing it with no thought. And it really stuck with me, because anytime that I feel like we have to do something now, I think about, no one's waiting for it. Just just relax, take a breath. And it's really helped me in my music career to not make rush decisions because of it.
Oh, that's for sure.
But it's
What is
very
some,
humbling when someone tells you nobody's waiting for your music.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine.
But in the best way. I needed to hear it, and I actually like I repeat that to artists all the time when I hear them stressing out about releasing new music, because it helped me.
So that's like what your advice would be to someone now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's depending on if that's what they needed to hear. I would say that to them. If they were actually looking for advice and give and like being worried about running out of time. I know a lot of women in the industry um, tend to think they're running out of time because if they don't look a certain age, they won't be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I know is a fear that like we have, but it's sometimes it's like what is the difference between what's the difference of 6 months? It's it's hard when you've got that inner fear and it's something that you've observed. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's unfounded. um it's something you observe, but I don't know, I've been making music, and my band members, we've been making music for years, and it's never been too late yet. So it's one of those things where I think it always feels like that in the moment, but if someone needed to hear it, I would definitely say it to them.
Nice, nice. So my final question for you then will be, what motivates you to keep going with music?
I I don't know. Like I
Okay.
actually don't know. Like, and I think that that's why I'm so motivated in music is I can't tangibly put put my finger on what it is that, like, the reason I'm here. It's just part of my being. Like I can't, like, as I was saying, like, earlier on, I wanted to be a musician as soon as I knew what music was. I can't remember a time when I didn't want to do this. And I don't like I just can't imagine doing anything else. And when I have, like, it brings me, like, it just kind of washes me with this overwhelming sadness, because I mean, I'm a musician that went that went through the pandemic. Like, we asked ourselves those questions, and I just can't, it just didn't feel like there was any alternative that would make me as happy and as satisfied and as devastated and as sad. Like, I feel all of those things in music. Like, I can feel on top of the world and completely down in the dumps in the same day in this art. Like, and I like it. I like feeling those things. I want to feel those things as a person. So to me, like, music is that for me, and I don't think I could ever stop.
I love that answer. That's great. That's pretty much all I have for you. I wrote down a few notes, I added a few, and honestly, I think that was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. You're amazing to talk to. So thanks so much. This is it's shocking that you just started doing this over the pandemic, because you're great at this.
I honestly, I hated being in front of the camera, and I was that guy who was like, I'm never gonna have a picture of myself anywhere, and I'll just be the guy taking the pictures. But got to do something. So
Well, I'm glad you did step out of that comfort zone and do this, cuz it's really great. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, and I loved having a conversation, and I hope we get to have another one at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope we get to have one, and I hope you get a chance to chat with all the other horses too, cuz I get to hang out with some pretty awesome talented women all the time. So, I'm sure
Hmm.
you'll find them very fun to talk to as well.
Yeah, I'm always available. So whenever they want to have a chat, I'm here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tom. It was great to meet you.
Great to meet you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And I got this guy sign outside my window here still,
Yeah.
so
Well, luckily I couldn't hear it at all. So,
which is surprising because it's annoying the bejesus
oh
out of
my
me. So,
gosh.
but yeah. Anyways, you have a good one. We'll sign off, and I hope you enjoy the Cavendish Festival.
Yes, thank you. We will. See
Okay,
ya.
see you later.